Tattoo artists of Reddit. What is the most fucked up thing you've tattooed? Ask my first tattoo artist this question. Super professional guy who has gotten awards for his work. But he said he did some dodgy tattoos in order to get his reputation started. One of those was a girl who was an aspiring porn star. He tattooed her butthole to be a more appealing pink color. Nothing super weird, and usually things I didn't feel comfortable putting on people. I would turn away. But I had a coworker who would scoop them up and do the tattoo for them. One was a girl who had just turned 18. She wanted a chain around her waist with a lock hanging on it just above her vagina and the words property of Dave, or whatever the fuck her boyfriend's name was. First off, she was 18, so I figured the relationship probably wasn't going to last, so I wouldn't do it for that reason. Then come to find out, her boyfriend had just been sentenced to life in prison for murder. The girl was making a terrible emotional mistake. I refused, but my coworker did do the tattoo. Guy wanted the thumbs up emoji on his taint. Apparently he wanted everyone down there to know he appreciates a job well done. I passed him off to a male colleague who did not stop giggling the entire half an hour session. But as most artists on here have said, we get ridiculous requests all the time, but they either don't show up or we have to ask them to leave. My friend asked this when he got his first tattoo. The tattoo artist said he had a totally sober girl come in and asked for the Come and Go logo tattooed right above her ass. The artist went through and ensured she understood everything the tattoo implied and that it was permanent. She still got it. I met a guy once who had a phrase in a foreign language on his arm. I asked him what it said and he replied, "Buy me a drink and I'll tell you." So I bought him a drink and asked again. It turns out it actually said, "Buy me a drink and I'll tell you." It apparently got him a lot of free drinks over the years. My tattoo guy tells a story of a woman who wanted "sweet pea" tattooed on her neck, but insisted that it is spelled "wet pea." He declined. Had a guy get a tattoo of his wife fingering her own ass while she sat and watched me tattoo it on him. Interesting experience trying to get the shading on her labia just right while she was peering over my shoulder. I've seen some weird fucked up tattoos via work, hospital, all of this stuff is years ago. And I couldn't even place a face with any of these people. Also scattered about the USA as I did a fair amount of travel work. Saw a guy with a genie coming out of his butthole up to the small of his back, peeking out over the seat of his pants I imagine. Saw another guy, sweet looking grandfatherly type, had what looked like a home done / prison tattoo on his penis that said "suck it." Saw a woman with the Rolling Stones lips tongue thing inside of her armpit. Must have hurt like hell. Saw a guy with an 8-ball on his dickhead. He said it was a thing from his days in the Marines. Apparently there's a tattoo place near Camp Lejeune that will give you free tattoos for life if you get an 8-ball on your dickhead. This guy definitely cashed in on that. Tons of great work. 8-ball on a guy's testicle. This young man wanted a tattoo on his back. It said something like, "Lisa, please forgive me." I asked him if this was some last ditch effort to get this girl back. He said yes. And I told him this is a really bad idea, you shouldn't do this. He wanted the tattoo anyway. So he got it. If it worked out with him and the girl, she will always remember this terrible thing he did that was so bad he had to go get a tattoo to try and prove how wrong he was. Or if it didn't work out with them, whoever he dated afterwards would ask him what terrible thing he did that was so bad he had to go get a tattoo to try fix things with his ex. It seemed like a no-win scenario with that tattoo. My advice is, if your tattoo artist is telling you that something isn't a good idea to get, just take a moment and consider why. A guy I worked with had a failed pregnancy, stillborn. So he was mourning. I have very high quality work on my arms that is very visible. So he asks me who and how much. I tried explaining that with portrait work, you get what you pay for. He calls, gets a price, and then confronts me on the number like we were in cahoots. I reminded him that you don't cheap on portrait work. And he told me he knows a guy who knows a guy. One last time I said don't. But he fully believed I was in on scamming him. He goes to guy of the guy, and when he returns I ask if I can see how it turned out. He pulls up his shirt and starts to cry. He has what anyone can see is the worst tattoo of his dead baby on his chest. Just crying, he said, I just wanted to remember him. Just tragic. TL. Doctor. Don't cheap out on dead baby portraits. I just started tattooing. So I was taking any kind of walk-in I could get. This guy would come in every few weeks and get his girlfriend's name tattooed on him. The same name. All different ways, in a diamond. Attached to an infinity symbol, with a ladybug. One day he came in with her, and I was surprised, because I never seen her, and always wanted to know who this muse of shitty name tattoos was. She seemed pissed off and unapproachable. The guy was in high spirits though. I skipped the small talk with her. Did the tattoo. Let them leave. He came in a few weeks later. Alone. I finally asked him why all the name tattoos. He told me he would tattoo her name on himself every time he cheated on her, and she found out. He then asked me if I would like to go to dinner after his tattoo. That was a last interaction. I had a gentleman come in when I'd only been tattooing for about 3 years. I was in the middle of a tattoo and somewhat, understandably, distracted. The fella pulls out his knob and shows me a poorly done star on the head. He wants it fixed and wants me to add another star and a crescent moon added. If you're asking yourself why, you're not alone. He told his wife he'd give her the moon and stars. He made an appointment for the following day a few hours after we'd opened. I remember feeling like I was waiting for my execution. Then I came to the realization that it was his dick about to get stabbed, not mine, and I got over it. When he showed up, I gave him a set of gloves and told them he was gonna be helping stretch the skin. He was a good sport about it and all went well and fine till he told me they were swingers and invited me over to their home to drink Crown and bang his wife. I politely declined, which is probably why she got the only tip out of the deal. Almost 2 decades ago, and I still remember it vividly. My ex has a tattoo of a gravy boat sucking itself off. I knew a guy that got rabbit prints on his ass cheek leading to his butthole. Want to see my new rabbit tattoo? Or man, it must have jumped in his hole. The tattoo was supposed to say, Georgia born, Alabama bred. Instead it says, Alabama breed. The girl was proudly showing me her tat. I read it and asked, what's it say? She looked at me dumb and reads it off. I said, I thought bread had only one E. I think your tat says breed. She laughs and says, no. The artist had drawn the design, and when I looked at it, the artist had written bread. Like a loaf of bread. I'm so glad I caught that. Can you imagine if I had bread on my arm? Ha ha ha. My DK girl. That might actually be better than breed. At least bread and bread are pronounced the same. My friend's dad had a tattoo that covered his entire forearm of 2 pigs going at it doggy style, piggy style, and it said making bacon above it. He was made to cover it up every time we visited, but I saw it once, and it's quite graphic. Obligatory not a tattooer. I worked at a tattoo magazine in the later 90s/early zeros. When artists still mailed photos of their work in, my favorite is the Pillsbury boy banging little Debbie, who is face down on a Hostess cupcake. I still have the photo. Well, I know someone who asked for a 90-year-old naked man tattooed on his ass. Not a tattoo artist myself, but trained a bit. Asked a master what the weirdest thing he tattooed was, and he said, without hesitation, a pair of eyes on me mate's balls.